Somewhere between working for money and money working for you, there is a door. On one side, every dollar you have ever earned required you to show up and earn it. On the other side, a portion of your income arrives whether you show up or not, and grows while you sleep. Almost everyone spends their whole life on the first side, pressed against that door, never realizing it was unlocked the entire time. So let's walk through exactly what happens the day it opens. One stage at a time, because the crossing is not a single moment. It is a sequence, and each step quietly removes something that used to be able to reach you. To understand the crossover, you first have to understand what a salary actually is. A salary is not wealth. It is a rental agreement on your hours. You hand over your time, and someone hands you money, and the arrangement holds only as long as you keep showing up. The moment you stop, a bad week, an illness, a Tuesday meeting that goes the wrong way, the money stops on the same afternoon. Almost everyone lives their entire financial life on this side of the door, and they call it security. It isn't. It's a single source with your name on it and someone else's finger on the switch. The paycheck feels like ground beneath your feet. But ground you rent is not ground you own, and the landlord can ask you to leave. Investment income is the opposite kind of thing. It arrives because you own something, not because you did something. It does not care whether you are working, sleeping, or on the other side of the world. It does not know your job title, and it cannot be revoked in a meeting. And the first time it shows up, it is almost insultingly small. The first trickle. This is where the story starts, and it starts as a joke. A few dollars of dividends, a little interest, $12 from something you bought months ago and forgot about. It is so small it feels like nothing, and most people treat it like nothing. But something has quietly happened that has never happened before in their financial life. For the first time, money arrived without an hour being traded for it. The amount is irrelevant. The category is everything. A person earning $4 while asleep has not changed their income. They have changed which side of the door they are standing on. And there is no way back through that door once someone truly understands what it means. The dollar itself does not matter. What matters is the proof, the quiet demonstration that money can be made to arrive on its own, that the mechanism is real and not a thing that only happens to other people in other lives. The quiet acceleration. Now the part nobody warns you about because it is boring right up until it isn't. That first trickle gets reinvested, and the reinvested part starts earning its own trickle. And the whole thing begins to feed itself. For years, this looks like almost nothing. The graph is flat enough to be discouraging. This is the stage where most people quit because the reward for patience has not arrived yet, and the patience is expensive. It asks you to keep setting money aside with no visible reward, while everyone around you spends theirs on things you can actually see. The newer car, the bigger television, the weekend that photographs well. What separates the people who make it across from the people who don't is not income. It is the willingness to keep watering something that refuses to visibly grow. The math is working the entire time. It simply does its most important work where you can't see it, in a place no monthly statement is built to show you. And the cruelty of this stage is that it looks identical to failure right up until the moment it doesn't. The person who quits at year 6 and the person who breaks through at year 8 were doing exactly the same thing. Only one of them kept going long enough to find out it was working. The first real proof. Before the numbers get large, there is a smaller milestone that almost nobody celebrates, and it deserves more attention than it gets. It is the first time the income from what you own covers a single recurring cost entirely on its own. A phone bill, a streaming subscription, a tank of fuel every month forever, without you lifting a finger. It sounds trivial. It is not, because in that instant, a category of your expenses has been permanently transferred off your shoulders and onto your assets. You have hired a tiny, tireless employee who works every hour of every day and never asks for a raise. The first bill your money pays on your behalf is the first hour of your life you have bought back, and once you have felt that, the game changes shape in your head. You stop asking what things cost and start asking how much you would have to own to make them free, the halfway line. Then one year, you look up and the money your assets produce covers a real bill, not a coffee. A bill. The electricity, the car payment, a week of groceries, paid entirely by things you own rather than things you do. This is the moment it stops being theoretical, because now there is a second source of income in your life, and the existence of a second source changes what the first one is allowed to do to you. The person earning everything from one job is fragile in a way they can feel, even if they never say it out loud. The person whose assets cover even a quarter of the bills is standing differently in the same meeting. Nothing about their face has changed. Everything about their position has. And position, it turns out, matters far more than lifestyle at every moment except the ones that are going well. A person earning a large salary from one employer is more exposed than a person earning a modest income from 3 separate sources. The first has a better life. The second has a better footing. And footing is the thing you only notice you were missing at the exact moment the ground moves. The crossover. And here's the part that surprises people. The day your investments out-earn your salary does not feel like arrival. It feels like nothing at all. There is no letter, no ceremony, no moment where a threshold visibly lights up. Somebody simply notices on an ordinary evening that the smaller number on the page is now the one they go to work for. The job that used to be the foundation is suddenly the smaller contributor, and the thing they built on the side has quietly become the thing holding up the house. Most people, on the day they cross it, go to work the next morning anyway. 30 years of habit does not dissolve because a spreadsheet changed, but something permanent has happened underneath the routine. The paycheck stopped being the thing keeping them afloat and started being a preference. And a preference is a completely different object than a lifeline, even when the number printed on it is exactly the same. The dollar amount did not change. What changed is that the dollar is no longer holding a knife. The reversal. This is where the entire relationship inverts. Before the crossover, you worked and the money followed. After it, the money works, and you are free to follow whatever you want. The salary doesn't disappear, but its meaning collapses. It stops being oxygen and becomes decoration. And the strangest part is what it does to the job itself. The work is unchanged, the desk is the same, the tasks are the same, the manager is the same, but the person doing them is unrecognizable, because they are no longer there out of need. They are there out of choice, and choice and need produce 2 completely different people wearing the same face. One of them tolerates almost anything to protect the paycheck. The other treats the paycheck as the least interesting thing they own. The first person laughs at the joke because their income depends on it. The second person laughs only if it's funny, and everyone in the room can feel the difference, even if none of them could name it. The end of the desperate yes. This is the thing almost nobody understands from the outside. The crossover doesn't buy a mansion or a new car. It buys the end of the desperate yes. The client you would have tolerated, you now decline. The offer you would have accepted by lunchtime, you now let sit for 4 days before you counter. Everyone below the line negotiates from need, and need is legible. It shows in the speed of the reply, in the acceptance of the first offer, in the tolerance of things that should never have been tolerated. 2 people receive the same insulting offer on the same morning. One reads it twice, feels something drop in his chest, and accepts it by lunchtime because the alternative is a conversation at home he cannot have. The other closes the laptop, waits 4 days, and counters from a position of complete calm. Nothing separates them except a number sitting in an account neither of them mentions in public. The second one will be described eventually as confident. He is not confident, he is funded. And funded is a thing you can build, while confidence for most people is just funded wearing a costume. The untouchable day. And this brings us to the last thing the crossover does, which is the strangest of all. It removes the single point of failure. Before, one decision by one person in one building could end everything you had arranged your life around. After, that same decision becomes news rather than a verdict. The layoff that would once have been a catastrophe becomes an inconvenience, an early start on a life the money was already quietly building toward. There is a particular expression on the face of someone in a restructuring meeting who has something else running at home. It is not relief, and it is not smugness. It is the specific calm of a person listening to news rather than receiving a sentence. And every manager in the room can read it instantly, which is exactly why that person is so rarely the one they can push. This is the day a person becomes genuinely difficult to pressure, and almost nobody around them can tell because there is nothing to see. No announcement, no upgrade, no visible change. Just a quiet person who stopped flinching at unexpected phone calls, who reads bad news at a slower speed than everyone else in the room. That calm is not a personality trait. It was purchased, one boring reinvested dollar at a time, over a length of time that discourages nearly everyone who starts. The trap on the other side. But there is a warning hidden inside all of this, because the door does not lead somewhere automatically safe. There is a version of the person who crosses it and still isn't free. The one who, the moment the investments out-earn the salary, simply moves the finish line. The number that was supposed to buy peace becomes the number they need to double. They cross the most important line in personal finance and feel nothing, because they have quietly decided the real line is somewhere further ahead, and then somewhere further than that. This is the oldest trap in wealth wearing new clothes. It is possible to own enough to never work again and still wake up every morning feeling 3 steps behind because the number was never actually the thing that was going to fix it. The people who stay trapped after the crossover are trapped by the same thing that trapped them before it, the belief that the account is the measurement of the person. And no account has ever been large enough to win that argument, because it was never a math problem to begin with. So what actually happens when your investments start making more than your salary? Almost nothing you could photograph, and everything that matters. The number in your account is not the prize. The prize is what the number quietly removes. The pressure, the need, the finger on the switch that was never yours to begin with. Each stage takes something away rather than adding something on. The first trickle removes the belief that money only comes from hours. The halfway line removes the total dependence on one source. The crossover removes the paycheck's power over your decisions. The untouchable day removes the fear of the single phone call that could end it all. Wealth was never the absence of work. It was the absence of obligation, arriving one quiet subtraction at a time. And the whole thing runs in the opposite direction from how it's usually sold to you. You don't cross the door to start living louder. You cross it to finally stop being reachable. The billboards will tell you the point of money is the car, the watch, the house that announces itself from the road. But the people who have actually crossed the line will tell you something quieter and stranger, that the real luxury was never the thing you could buy. It was the phone call you no longer had to take, the offer you were free to refuse, the ordinary Tuesday that could no longer be ruined by a single line in an email. The door was unlocked the entire time. The only cost of opening it was the patience to keep feeding something small while it looked like nothing, long enough for the smallest number in your life to quietly become the one holding everything up. Most people never open it, not because it was locked, but because the price was paid in years, and years are the one currency almost nobody is willing to spend on something they can't yet see. They wait for the moment to feel right, for the income to feel large enough, for some signal that never comes, and the door stays shut, not because they lacked the key, but because they kept waiting for permission to use it. You are standing closer to that door than it looks. The first trickle is not a fortune away. It is one owned thing away. One small, unglamorous asset quietly beginning to pay you back for the patience nobody else was willing to spend. And the day it out-earns everything you do will not feel like a finish line. It will feel like an ordinary evening on which you finally realize the ground beneath you is, at long last, your own. If you made it this far, you're the kind of person this channel is for. Subscribe. See you in the next video.